Good afternoon, folks. It is the 4th of October, and I want to update you on our now $700 billion, $850 billion no banker left behind law. Not bill anymore, it is now a law. House passed it yesterday, and the president, of course, signed it immediately with Henry Paulson looking like he had just eaten the canary. Well, he did. But let us first start with the debate on the floor of the House. These are some of the speeches. The first couple of clips are from someone who is a great American, Representative Sherman.
Because they think they can hide from this Congress and from the American people the fact that hundreds of billions of dollars are going to overseas investors. And there are transparency provisions in the bill on a lot of things. But the one thing that will never be revealed, when Goldman Sachs sells a bond on December 1st to Treasury, what will not be revealed is whether Goldman Sachs bought it from the Bank of China 2 or 3 days earlier with intention to sell to Treasury.
That's absolutely right, ladies and gentlemen. And that, by the way, was one of the key provisions that Henry Paulson said that Bush would veto the bill over if they stuck provisions in that the Bank of China could not sell those bonds to Goldman Sachs, which would then turn around and sell them to Treasury. Henry Paulson told them that there was going to be a veto on the bill. So, $700 billion goes directly to overseas investors and banks. Thank you very much. You were warned. We failed to stop it. Now it's going to happen. Let's look at how the bill actually got passed. Again, Representative Sherman, real sharp cookie. By the way, guys, do a little research on him. He's not your typical mouth breather in Congress. He's actually got a brain in his head. And today, yesterday, before, he used it. Here we go.
Wall Street wants the $700 billion so bad they can taste it. To get it, they need two things. First, you create panic. Then you block alternatives. And then you herd the stampeding cattle toward passing a bad bill.
Uh-huh. And it doesn't end there, folks. In order to get people to pass this bill, they picked off votes one at a time, or in some cases 10 at a time. Oh, none of them came from little tiny states that have a manufacturer that makes wooden arrows for children, do they? They wouldn't do something like that. What did they?
$2 million for wooden arrows for children.
Yeah, they really did do that. That was in the bill that the Senate sent over. And a bunch of other things similarly, but that one was the most absurd, so we had to include it. Now let's talk about some of the other realities, one of the stunning realities, in fact, how they came up with the $700 billion number.
Where did $700 billion come from? The administration says we didn't have any data point. We just wanted to pick a really large number.
Yeah, isn't that nice? That's not my words. Those are the words of the White House press secretary and Treasury secretaries and, you know, the people that actually designed this thing. Yeah, we just wanted to pick a really large number. Well, $700 billion is about to exit the United States. In fact, it's probably flying over there with the little electrons going down the pipes right about now. And if you wonder why such a piece of garbage would pass the House, this, unfortunately, is the reason.
Working families are suffering. Unemployment is over 10% in my own district. We have over 2,300 people who have lost their homes to foreclosure. Retirement and pension funds are losing value. Local government can't make decisions. Half of small business owners rely on mortgages for lines of credit, and many small minority and women-owned businesses are suffering right now.
Oh, I absolutely empathize, ma'am. But this bill is going to do absolutely nothing to fix that. And unfortunately, the mouth breathers in the House of Representatives outnumber the thinkers. So what we got yesterday was $700 billion worth of garbage, $150 billion worth of pork, and now it is on its way flying over to China, Japan, Germany, and other wonderful places outside the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, the market didn't think this was very funny at all. In fact, here's a chart of yesterday's price action. As you can see, all the way up to the point that the vote was actually held, the market was rising. Why? Well, the House defeated the bill the first time, probably thought they might do it again. But as soon as the bill passed, $600 billion evaporated out of your 401k and IRA. Congratulations, Congress. You just screwed the American taxpayer not only out of $700 billion, another $150 billion worth of added pork, but in addition, $600 billion in Americans' 401ks and IRAs went out into the ether yesterday afternoon, all as a consequence of your yes vote. Isn't that nice? And before you say that this was some kind of anomaly, I want you to look at this chart. This is a 5-day chart. Remember, folks, on Monday we were assured by all the talking heads, Sunday night talk shows all over the weekend, Monday, that the House had assured passage, that they had the votes. They wouldn't have brought it to the floor if it didn't. 40%, folks, of the drop that occurred on Monday happened before the vote was held. Why was there a panic Monday afternoon? Because the market hates uncertainty. You tell the market that you're going to do something and then do the opposite, it tends to get pissed off and has a temper tantrum. That's what occurred. However, on second thought, the next day and a half or thereabouts, the market said, hey, you know what? This bill really is a piece of cow shit. We should not pass it, and you should not pass it. And it came back up to where it was before the failed vote. Hey, you know what? That's good. But then the Senate took its vote, and the market tanked again. Folks, you can't make this stuff up, okay? These charts are not, they're exactly what they are. You cannot make up the timelines. You can't make up the market's reaction. The Senate vote was very unimpressive to the market, but then yesterday, people thought, hey, maybe the House will save us. They will actually dump this piece of garbage. And it was the Dow Jones Industrials were up over 300 points, ladies and gentlemen, before the vote was held. Unfortunately, the House did the wrong thing. And as you can see, this is on this weekly chart here, the Dow and the ES. The ES is actually the S&P 500 futures, which allows you to see price action outside of market hours. It closed below Monday's lows. So, for those of you that think that this was all about the vote failing, wrong. Your 401ks and IRAs lost value not because the vote failed, but because it succeeded. And you need to hear this very clearly, folks. The market fell because the House and Senate passed a $700 billion bill to give your money to the Chinese. That is why your 401k blew up this week, not the opposite. Remember this when you go to the polls. It is important. Hey, and guess what? If you think that this was going to stop the panic in the credit market problem, think again. This is the IRX, this 13-week T-bill. This is one of the measures of panic. But when Paulson played scaremonger, Eddie Kruger and Freddie Scissorhands, I think I have that backwards, Freddie Kruger and Edward Scissorhands, you can see that the IRX plunged as that occurred. But then, hey, where's the recovery, guys? This ought to be trading up around 20. It closed at 4.70 on Friday. No recovery of any materiality at all. This, by the way, is what is now on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet and what you and I and everybody else in America are going to have on our balance sheet in Treasury. Congratulations, America. This is what our legacy is going to be. Now you're going to be paying taxes in the future as well as your children and grandchildren in order to finance this. And finally, we have this. This is what Wall Street tried to extort out of people, $700 billion. And then, when they got a second thought about it and said, you know, this emergency is real, but what Treasury came up with kind of sucks. Too bad your market crashes anyway because you did the wrong thing, Congress. All right, folks, very important here. We are getting down to the end of our 10 minutes. Bottom line, elections are in 5 weeks. It is your job as Americans to get out there and understand this stuff. Look at these charts. Play this video over and over again if you need to. Please understand, the market did not crash because this bill was not voted on Monday. The market blew up this week because the House of Representatives and Senate conspired to steal $700 billion of your money that was going to be necessary to actually do something productive in this country with this economic emergency and send it to China. One final thought. If we do have an economic depression, and by my figuring and the way I look at it, the odds have now doubled from where they were last week, you're going to wish you had that $700 billion right here for things like food, shelter, and clothing. Henry Paulson, George W. Bush, the House and the Senate stole it and gave it to the Chinese. Remember that in November.